a long process to get here, but it's a club I've always envied. I've been in the area 15 years, know everything about Newcastle. So it's a pleasure to be finally their head coach. We know where we're going, we know the objectives. I'm just looking to really get started and as soon as possible.
Steve McClaren takes the helm as Jamaica head coach. Join Premier 7 right now for the big chat. It is official that Steve McClaren is appointed as the head coach of the Jamaica men's national team. How do you feel about this appointment, people? Do you think it was the right move, or do you think it was a bad move? Well, Premier 7 is here to have a discussion surrounding the topic. Steve McClaren takes the helm as Jamaica head coach. Genius move or a huge mistake by JFF? It is indeed a question, because I know for a fact that there is a split regarding to the fan base. Today on the channel, I just want to dive into a few details surrounding Mr. McClaren by way of a general talk, taking into consideration the news feed, Steve McClaren managerial career and statistics, and was it wise or unwise for JFF to appoint him as head coach. But before I do that, in recent days, I have done a video surrounding, is Steve Bruce the rightful head coach to manage the Jamaica men's national team? That video received in excess of 680 views, 15 likes to be exact, and 4 comments. People, I have to say thank you yet again for your participation surrounding the videos being done on Premier 7. I really appreciate your input and your concerns relating to the videos that I am doing. In that case, I just want to jump right into a poll that I have done surrounding Steve McClaren in relation to the appointment that was in circulation. So the poll mentioned that, how do you feel about Steve McClaren as the Jamaica men's national team Reggae Boys newly appointed head coach? I received 67 votes, whereas 78% mentioned that they're excited, 22% stated that they're impressed, and 5 likes, 2 comments. So it looks quite good in that case, whereas most persons don't have any issue with Steve McClaren being the person appointed for the national position. Let's jump into the first point. A general talk about Steve McClaren with the consideration of the news thereafter. So Steve McClaren is known for being a person that has been at Manchester United working alongside Eric Ten Hag, surrounding the performance of the players on and off the pitch. Steve McClaren, a lot of persons at Manchester United loves this man because of his charisma, because of his leadership ability, and because of his extended experience during his tenure as a coach. He has managed to coach many clubs before, and internationally he has coached the England team, and he did not do so well in that case. But I am certain, by way of facts, that he's a coach that if we should even decide between himself, Ollie, Steve Bruce, and Dwight York, all being ex-Manchester United players, then Steve McClaren would be the best option. You know, to be honest, I had some doubts, but based on the small research that I have done, I have realized that Steve McClaren, regardless of his possibility of having a better career as a coach, it could have been better where results were concerned. There is something that this guy can bring to the national team. And I just want to let this be talked about then by Mr. Rudolph Speed, and then I will give you my honest opinion thereafter. So, Steve McClaren, the most suitable choice, says Speed. Steve McClaren ticked all the boxes, said Rudolph Speed, chairman of the technical committee of the Jamaica Football Federation JFF, after the 63-year-old Englishman was confirmed on Wednesday as the new head coach of the Jamaica men's national senior team. An assistant coach of Eric Ten Hag at many times English Premier League club, that is, who was overseeing the return of the club's international players to preseason training at Carrington. So Speed said that McClaren was a top candidate for the Nigerian head coach position and is not entirely new to the Jamaica situation. So did you know that he was on the radar of Nigeria, but Jamaica swooped in? So he has worked with us before as a consultant to FIFA and would have studied the entire Jamaica football ecosystem from schoolboy football all the way up. Furthermore, he worked with legendary former coach Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United, won the Dutch League, coached in the UEFA Champions League, and has worked with big names players. So from the article, what really stood out to me was a case of Steve McClaren being that sort of person who has studied the Jamaican ecosystem. That is the part that stood out to me, and it changed my mind, not 100%, but give me an insight as to why he was appointed. I am not that depressed as I would have been before. If we understand the Jamaica ecosystem from a schoolboy football level coming up the ranks, then he would basically be watching Jamaica football, having the knowledge surrounding the downfall and the upliftment of the national team, and with his appointment, he can take his experience from the different clubs for which he coached, with Manchester United being the last one, and bring it into the Jamaica football system. It will not be so easy though, because there are different talents that the Jamaica football team would have. But based on the fact that he knows what it means to even take into consideration and manage players who are of high caliber compared to the local lads that we have here, it is a tick for the Jamaican fans. So Steve McClaren, he has managed in excess of 5, 6, 7 clubs, and internationally, Jamaica will be his second appointment. His biggest win percentage was that of being the coach of 20, 101 games, 64 win, 20 draws, 17 losses, with his winning percentage being 63.37. Holistically, he has a maximum of 670 games. He has won 297. He has drew 156, and he has lost 217 with a win percentage of 44.33. It is not convincing from this point because good coaches exceeds that percentage. Let's say a typical coach with quality could be in the like 55 range above, but not less than say 52. So McClaren is a coach that Jamaica is going to appoint for 2 years, 2-year contract. And I think even though we cannot really look on statistics to really judge a coach to say that, oh, this is not the reason for appointing him. This is the reason to appoint him, and vice versa. It could be a case of injuries and so forth that could prevent him from performing well, but it could be a case as well whereas he received players that he basically help him to win more games than the norm. I have to conclude at an early point to say that from this discussion that Steve McClaren may not be the man for the long term, but we need to go to the World Cup. Could he be a stopgapper? But Jamaicans, a lot of you guys seems to be excited, or those persons who support Premier 7 or has been engaged in Reggae Boys football discussions. Most of you who respond to the poll that I did are in support of Steve. But my concern is that his formation is not something for which I really like. And this is what I'm going to say now. Was it wise or unwise for JFF to appoint him as head coach? We will have our yes and we will have our no. I will not conclude by way of choosing one point, but I'm going to discuss some points surrounding that. Steve McClaren, based on SOFA score, his preferred formation is a 4-4-1-1. But before, or basically within his time as well, the 4-3-3 is something that he tried to build his philosophy around. And it is a modern day type of philosophy for most coaches. Steve McClaren knows what it means to even win, so I assume he's going to bring his winning mentality into the Jamaica camp. And of course, this guy knows what it feels to be around big players, big coaches. Not only him, Dwight York and Solskjaer was at that point. But the thing is, with Steve McClaren, I think he is that person who I think more so can adjust to the system of Jamaica requirements. And remember, he was that person who I mentioned earlier on who has the knowledge or has studied the Jamaica football or ecosystem surrounding schoolboy football coming up. So it is not a case which is going to come into a new environment clueless, but he would have had his studies and his knowledge from point before and building on that with new things in place. It will not be easy, but Steve McClaren is excited for the position, as you would have realized from the first point of the video for which I shown when he was about to become the leading man for Newcastle job. He was appointed, but I am saying that before he started to coach the players. Not all the time what they say will come through, but we need a positivity and we need for it to be backed up. There could be many more things to say about Steve McClaren's appointment, but I think let's give him a chance because the others who were there could have been better options, but not all would have exceeded the capabilities of a Steve McClaren. But he would need the support of the Jamaica fan base. He would need the support of those persons in authority who can even bring a few coaching staff with him. Will he help Jamaica to go to the next point? I'm not sure, but the appointment now to me was not a bad timing because it is before Jamaica starts to play the major competitions, inclusive of the games apart from the FIFA World Cup qualifiers. So we have games, I think, in late August or in September. So you have some time to come in, as what was mentioned next week, to come in and get himself familiarized with the team, the players, and so forth. And we're hoping that this time around things will get better. So, people, what do you think about the topic? Steve McClaren takes the helm as Jamaica head coach. Genius move or huge mistake by JFF? It is for you to share your point. So, people, you comment, I will respond. Take care until we meet again.